What About Vietnam? A podcast with Gary Newsom. The series where Curry talks with travellers about their experiences and adventures. Find out more about Vietnam from the people who have actually been there.
What about Vietnam?
Whether it's adventure, exploring the culture and cuisine, shopping, or just soaking up the sun. Let Carrie and her travellers pave the way for a magical holiday in Vietnam.
What about Vietnam?
Xin chào and welcome to What About Vietnam? Today in our episode, we explore Vietnam as a golfing holiday destination, and we take that journey with the lovely Chrissy Horton, who joined me on a familiarisation tour back in May 2019. Now, while Vietnam has over 60 courses to choose from, our focus was on central Vietnam. Vietnam is certainly popping up on the radar as a major golfing destination, let me assure you. Chrissy herself has played all over the world and has hosted groups to the US Masters, and she's a very experienced and talented player. She's got a lot of knowledge, and I think the kind of person to give you some qualification just on how the courses do compare with the ones that she's played within other countries. Chrissy herself is a tour host, an ambassador for Teed Up Golf in Australia, and as I mentioned, a very talented player. And in the group, really gave everyone some stick during the 10 days that she was with the group and enjoyed the courses in Vietnam. I think to give the listener who is a golfer the information they need to decide, what about Vietnam as a golfing destination, Chrissy will have a lot to offer you. You'll soon pick up, I don't play golf, but as I was the Vietnam host, it was my job to show her my Vietnam, which just quietly, I think she fell in love with. Golfers, stay tuned. We are up early and about to tee off. Welcome to the show, Chrissy.
Oh, thank you, Kerry. Great to be with you this afternoon.
Look, we've got a lot to get through, and I'm, really going to be picking your brains, but I'm going to start right at the beginning, and I'm going to start when you got the invitation to come to Vietnam. What did you think about that idea, firstly? First impressions.
Well, I was really excited about the possibility of going to Vietnam because, as you say, I'd never been to Vietnam before, and actually I have very limited experience really in golf in Asia. And I know that Vietnam is an increasingly popular golf destination. So I was keen to go and experience it, really. So it was a wonderful invitation, and one that I jumped at and was lucky enough to get a seat on.
Oh, great. And, I was glad to have you for two reasons. One, because you had travelled extensively around the world playing golf. And as you say, your experience in the Indochina region was fairly limited in this area. So first impressions of Vietnam for you were?
Well, I guess in a nutshell, it was a wonderful, how many days? 10 days, 7 days. Yeah. And I actually can't wait to go back. Unfortunately for COVID, that's put a bit of a spanner in the works for just for right now. But I'm keen to get back there and take people back there as soon as it's possible to travel. I had a great time. I absolutely loved it. And I guess first impressions, it's busy. It's everything you expect from
Asia.
From Asia. I think there were 90 million motorbikes or 130 million motorbikes in Ho Chi Minh City.
You can usually add, how many zeros to that, and it'll probably be close. Yeah, exactly.
So yeah, it's out of control. But the great part about that is that once you actually get on a golf course, or once you get to a spa or a retreat, you can just step out of the craziness and and into luxury, and just have this wonderful combination of everything.
So our first stop is Hoi An, and we're going to use Hoi An as a bit of a base to play two courses, Vin Pearl Nam Hoi An and Montgomery links. So, Chrissy, tell us a little bit about your stay at the Nam Hoi An Resort and those courses that we played from that hotel as the base.
Well, the Vin Pearl Resort was a great place for us to be based, really. I mean, it's on the coast, right on the beach there. And there's 1,000 miles of coastline in Vietnam, and this is a fantastic sort of part of it. It's a very big hotel. I think about 430 rooms and 100 odd villas where we stayed, and they were really well appointed. And it's got all those facilities that you want from a big hotel. So it's got gyms, spas, pools, all that sort of thing. So located in close proximity to the golf courses. So that was a great place for us to be. Personally, I guess I'd probably prefer something a little smaller, but for a golf holiday, and particularly if you've just got a short period of time and you're just focused on that one sort of area, I'd say it's a great spot to be.
And it's in an ideal location from a transport perspective to access the courses that we played, as it's about 20 minutes out of the actual old town itself. The Nam Hoi An Golf Club or the course itself is actually right at the resort, along with a safari park and Nam Hoi Land, which is a bit of a mini Disneyland. I mean, it's a space all of its own. Let's be truthful there. So we were able to get you onto the course nice and early and very easily because you were actually staying at the resort to actually access your play on your first day. So it was a new course, wasn't it? It was about a year old when you played.
The other great thing is that it's located pretty close to Da Nang and to the airport, so it was actually a quick hop when we actually arrived in, which was fantastic as well because I think we got in pretty late, so that was great. It wasn't a long journey to actually get there. The golf course, the Vin Pearl golf course, is within the resort. It's about a 5-minute drive, and that was fantastic. You're there, and you know what? I think it was if you're going on a golf trip, probably that's a really good golf course to kind of launch your holiday. It's a links style course. It's relatively new. It's built on sand dunes, as links courses are. It's got nice sort of generous fairways, and it's just a really nice golf experience. So, as I say, a nice place to start. And, you instantly you sort of you're introduced to golf in Vietnam with the caddies that are there. And they're predominantly actually, I'm not sure if it's mandatory to have a caddy in Vietnam, but I would say to people, don't even think about not having one. They're just it's all part of the Vietnam experience, and they're predominantly women. They're gorgeous. They go out of their way to help you. I think it costs 140,000 dong, which is about $8.50. To actually secure a caddy, and that, just bear in mind that amount of money just goes to the administration, so that doesn't really go, as far as I understand. I don't think most of that goes to the caddy. So they are then reliant on about a $20 tip at the end, and they work incredibly hard for the $20 tip. So they'll guide you and make sure that you don't go down the wrong path. They'll stand at the tee and tell you the best direction to hit off the tee. They may well never actually have had a round of golf in their entire life, but they have been trained within an inch of their lives on where to hit for each shot on that specific golf course, and also they can just read those greens impeccably, and they know that their tip is probably based on how many putts you sink. So I'd say put your trust in them, and you'll putt really well. In fact, I don't think I've ever putted better in my life. They were fantastic.
Oh,
and they'll get water for you. They'll steer the cart. They'll get food. They'll do all those sorts of things. And at the end of the round, they'll give you a little paddle that has their name on it, and you're invited to put the paddle into a box, and I think there's about 4 boxes, and so that you're rating them. So if you had an excellent experience, you put it in box 1. If you had a not such a great experience, you put it in box 4. So they're working really hard to get their name in box 1. There must be some sort of incentive program associated with that. I don't know, possibly the people who are rated number one, or the caddies that are rated number one, maybe get given the best and high net worth players when they come individually or whatever. But anyway, it all helps to really maximise the level of service, and they over deliver, and it's a great part of that experience and very cheap.
And let's face it, that's kind of a unique aspect to playing golf, isn't it, in Vietnam? I mean,
definitely,
that isn't
definitely.
It adds a kind of a personality to it. It adds, I think, just some uniqueness to it. And, as you say, like the stories about the paddle, that's the first time I'd heard about that. I know they work hard for their tips and for any praise that they get, they just, lap it up. But I think just how they feature in the whole game experience is unique to Vietnam.
Oh, definitely. And, each course has its own crew of caddies that have a different uniform. So, and they're all very they're all sort of very they're gorgeous. Like, for instance, at Montgomery Links, they've got what I'd assume is the Montgomery tartan from Scotland, and so that features very much in the in the caddy uniform, but it's got its own sort of Vietnam flavour. So yeah, it really is, I think, a very special part of the experience.
So moving from the Vin Pearl Nam Hoi An Golf Club, next day we played Montgomery Links. So tell us just a little bit about that course. I mean, it's been designed by the golfer Colin Montgomery, who you would know all about. But tell us a little bit about that course.
Well, anybody who's a golfer kind of knows what I've been playing as long as I have, knows Monty really well. I mean, he's a legend of the game, and clearly he loved Vietnam. And being from Scotland, the opportunity to create a golf course that's, on the coast there, and a links style course was obviously really, up his alley. And I think he's probably very proud of it. It's set at the foot of the Marble Mountains, sort of on the Central Coast. And from various holes, you can actually see the Marble Mountains. So it's we're sort of at Vin Pearl. Vin Pearl's in an area where there's a lot of construction happening. And so I guess what you're seeing on the horizon at Vin Pearl is, although it's a really great golf course, the surrounds are maybe not quite as attractive. But once you start to get to courses like Montgomery Links, the scenery really starts to become a feature. And I mean, there's more water holes than you'd normally find on a traditional links course in Scotland. But it's and the pot bunkers also are they're nothing like they are in Scotland. They're more sort of, I guess, wasteland, which is probably a really good thing. Yes, it's a world-class course. It's very well regarded. It's got lots of facilities. It's got a wonderful golf clubhouse and a PGA academy, that kind of thing. So I would say, a golf trip to Vietnam is probably not a golf trip without without including Montgomery Links.
Okay. So we were staying, as we mentioned, out at the resort, which has a little bit of inconvenience as far as transport is concerned into the old town. So it's about a 15 to 20 minute trip back into the old town. We did spend a couple of nice nights, if you recall, in the old town. I certainly enjoyed taking you on a river cruise where we had dinner on the cruise. But you tell your experience of Hoi An and the old town experience.
Yeah, look, I loved the old town of Hoi An, and I guess if I was taking a group of people back there, personally, that's where I would elect to stay. As you say, it's a world, it's a UNESCO World Heritage Site now. It's been renovated, I think, sort of, very much it's a showcase really for tourists. But it's not, I don't think it's kitsch at all. I think it's just got a wonderful charm. It's located on a river that was, say, in the old days was a flourishing port and a meeting place of east and west. And you still get that feeling there that the people who live there, I think, are very proud of it. You've got museums, assembly halls, temples. A lot of the old homes have sort of wooden doors and, carved beams and open airy rooms, and many of those have been sort of, I guess, converted into fun restaurants and things. You've got rooftop bars. There's just it's a lovely sort of, it's a lovely atmosphere. And I think it's been really well restored, and, some gorgeous hotels, and I think, look, a great place to stay.
And it's walkable, isn't it? Like, it's easy to wander around. It hasn't got the chaos of a major city like Saigon or
no,
Hanoi,
not at all.
It's easy to walk around, but you might have to step over a few wires here and there.
You've got to step over wires, and there's street vendors everywhere, and as we said, 50 million motorbikes and all that kind of thing. But it's not actually, as you say, it's not as chaotic as the as the big cities. I mean, they're just at a whole other level. But I just think it's got a wonderful charm. You can walk everywhere. You can go to restaurants. The bars were fun. You can have tailoring done. There's a lot there's a lot to do. For non-golfers, for instance, if you've got people with you who are non-golfers, they could happily fill in several days, I think, in the old city of Hoi An, and certainly not run out of things to do.
Definitely. And I think also it's very much from my perspective anyway, it seems to create a different atmosphere at night. Like with the lanterns, how did you find that atmosphere? Because that's
it's very unique, I think. It is. It's very special. It's very special. I loved it, and that's why for me, I think that it had a lot more charm and character than probably sort of staying on the coast. Can't wait to go back. Really.
That's two of us. So as far as the heat is concerned, how did you find the heat? Now, you'd had 2 days playing. We did manage to play early in the morning, and I think that's probably worth mentioning. But how did you go with the heat, and how did the people you were playing with go with the heat?
Some managed it better than others. But, look, I'm a bit of a Queensland girl these days. So to be honest, I have to say that I think I coped with it pretty well. We were there in May, which is starting to get hot. It was hot. I can't remember, but it would have been late 30s every day. And the humidity is, if you're not used to the humidity, which I'm used to it. So if you're not, it's a challenge. The great thing about the golf, of course, is that you're in carts all the time, and the caddies will have ice with them, and they have these funny little ice pouches that just fit in around your neck, which are fantastic, and they keep filling those up at ice stations and things. So you've always got umbrellas, and they hold an umbrella over your head when you're going onto the green, etc. So I was absolutely fine. But if I was taking a group of people back there, I probably would go earlier than May. Because a lot of people would find it challenging, and some of the people actually in our group found it challenging, and actually towards the end I think a couple elected not to play the final round of golf. Crazy. I don't know how they did that, why they did that, but I think a lot of that was actually just really due to the heat.
Struggling during the heat.
Yes,
absolutely.
Yeah.
And I think, when I talk to people and then, they are considering going, I do try and encourage them to go earlier in the year, around the kind of March, April, probably latest, as the best time of the year, because, let's face it, you want to enjoy the experience. You don't want it to be unbearable out there. And if everybody's wanting to play early, well, you're going to struggle to get that tee times that you want. So, I think, sharing with our listeners if we can encourage them to go earlier in the year. I think that's the best idea.
Yeah, well, I think
Would you agree?
correct me if I'm wrong, but I think the rainy season is actually from May through September. So you want to avoid the rainy season and the heat. So yeah, absolutely. I would say probably, depending on where you go, of course, north or south. I think it differs a little bit, but probably February, March would be ideal. February, March, early April. But, I know people that have gone in October, November and really enjoyed it as well. So,
being in October at the moment, would you believe Hoi An is flooding? So
there you go.
It's a bit of a luck of the draw.
Sure.
With, countries that live on that part of the globe. But, who knows? Now, we went on to Barna Hills after this, and we went up to the Barna Hills theme park, but we also played then at the Barna Hills Golf Club, which is kind of at the base almost of the Barna Hills theme park. Maybe tell us a little bit about that experience.
Oh, Barna Hills is wonderful, and I think like Montgomery Links, I'd put it as a definite on your list of courses to play. It's designed by PGA Tour player Luke Donald, and I think it's Luke's first golf course design, and one that he should be really proud of. It's and it's managed by IMG, so it's a pretty sort of slick operation. It's located in the foothills of Barna Hills, and look, it's won lots of awards. It's set amongst impressive mountain ranges. It's challenging. It's exciting. And really the two nines are quite different. The first nine is, you sort of say, parkland with a bit of forest, and the back nine sort of weaves its way through the hillside. So it's got some blind holes as well, so certainly some blind shots up onto greens. You've got no idea where the hell you're going, but that's why you've got to rely on your caddy. Where do I hit? So actually, I was just itching to go back and play it again, because once you actually played it once, you do have a better idea of where you're going. But that was certainly a really special experience. They've also got there's a mix of playing lengths there. So and what I mean by that is there's various tees. So you can either elect to hit off a longer tee or a shorter tee. And so for the higher handicappers, for instance, for the women, there is a much shorter tee to hit off if to just make it to make the round, I guess, more enjoyable for those that are going to take a few more shots than those on a lower handicap. And I think that's a great thing actually about Vietnam really, and golf in Vietnam, is that it's a fantastic destination for golfers of all abilities. The lower handicappers will be really challenged, but the higher handicappers have an equally enjoyable experience. And other destinations in the world are not quite so user friendly, particularly for those on a higher handicap.
Mm-hmm. And what would you say to, because when we think about golf, and certainly from a planning and a tour perspective, first things come to mind to me is, kind of a bunch of guys getting together and going away on a trip, kind of a boys' trip. I mean, how would you rate Vietnam and your experience of that? Is it the place for the boys' trip? Are they going to get to do what they want to do there? And maybe speak a little bit to the entertainment side of it.
Sure. Well, look, I think, it's a great destination for groups of boys who maybe are celebrating a 40th birthday or a 50th birthday, or I don't know, just having a boys' week away. And I think you can actually go for a week. If you were just going for a week, I'd say just go to somewhere, for instance, like, Hoi An or Da Nang, and, play all the courses in and around that one area. Don't try and do too much. And so you could have a great week of golf. And, the food and the food and beverage side of things is, look, the food's absolutely fantastic. And alcohol is very, very cheap, particularly beer, if you're a beer drinker. So it is one of those destinations that really you're not worried about your credit card statement when you get home. It's a very inexpensive destination. You'd almost have to say that really it's a first world experience, probably at third world prices in a lot of instances. That may change. There's so much construction things going on. You kind of feel like, Vietnam's just about to it's about to go to a whole new level. But at it does have that feeling. And so I guess part of me thinks I really want to get back there soon before it, while it's still really authentic. And that's to love about it now, is that it's still although there's so much a big mix of sort of the old and new, and a lot of new is happening, it still feels like a very authentic experience. So yes, great for the boys' trips, and then great for couples too, sort of, traveling together. And there's accommodation to sort of, you can travel in absolute luxury and style, or you can, and it's still, very affordable. Or you can stay in a really nice hotel that's really pretty cheap.
Yes, yeah. And I think the fantastic thing about Vietnam, it does offer that range. I mean, you can spend, $100 a night and get, 4-star quality.
That's right.
And I think that's quite rare. I mean, if you would, agree with me, in Australia, 4-star is pretty average, a 4-star hotel or a 3-star hotel, where 4-star over there is still pretty flash. 5-star, obviously, I think for what you pay in Vietnam, and because depending, on the rate of exchange, what dollar you're using, you are getting, a good bang for your buck kind of thing. It's buying you a lot more in Vietnam than it is in, say, if you, exchange rates into Europe or the US, etc., because you're losing so much on the exchange rate, where you're gaining in most cases in Vietnam.
Sure. I mean, I think it's a very affordable destination. I mean, I go to a lot of places in the world. For instance, I take groups into the US Masters, for instance, and as much as sort of every golfer probably has that on their bucket list to once in their life go to the US Masters, and I'd say, absolutely do it if you can. Financially, it really is out of reach of a lot of people. And even a lot of iconic golf courses in the US are out of reach. I mean, for Pebble Beach now, it's about $600 US. It's very difficult to access unless you're actually staying at the lodge at Pebble Beach. So, those things really, if you're going away with a group of mates, for instance, that's just for most groups, that's just not. It's just not a possibility.
Not possible.
Whereas you can go to Vietnam and you can have a really great time, and it's just not going to cost you a lot, and it's going to be accessible to a lot more people.
Sure. Now, we did a little detour while we were at Barna Hills, and where did we go, Chrissy?
We went to this extraordinary French replica village called at the top of Barna Hills, which was, it's at the end of the longest non-stop cable car in the world. And I have to say, I think that was actually the best part of the trip.
5 kilometres long.
5 kilometres long. It's extraordinary. And that was really special. I mean, the scenery, going up and back was, is incredible. And at the top, you've got sort of this massive Buddha. I think it's about, I don't know, what is it? I don't know how tall it is. It's just absolutely massive. You've got manicured gardens. You've got this fantastic sort of golden bridge that's held up by these giant hands. The giant hands, I think they're stone. Are they stone? They look like they're stone. That's a theme park at moment.
Let's hope they are to hold that.
Let's hope they are to hold it up. Anyway, it's just fantastic. But the whole experience up there is it's very kitsch. I have to say it is kitsch. But you know what? When I got home and looked at all the photos, they're fantastic. I just go, oh wow, yeah. That's impressive. That's impressive. So I'd say as long as you actually know what you're in for, I'd still, if I had a group of people and half were playing the golf course, I'd still send the others up to Barna Hills to have a look at it. And
have a day, maybe? Just
have a day trip. You have a day trip up there. And I think it's a nice day trip.
Yes, it's got the secret gardens, it's got the funicular up to, as you say, the Buddha. It actually was a wealthy retreat for the French when they occupied Vietnam. So some of that replication of buildings, etc., where we think it looks a little bit Disneyland, is actually taken from its pure origin, which was because it's a lot cooler up there.
That's right.
The French used to try to escape the heat because, traditionally they wouldn't have been accustomed to that level of heat. So going as high as that to get away from it was their plan. And they built these little chalets. The Mercure Hotel actually runs and operates, I think, about 6 of these chalets around the actual hill development. But Sunland took it over and has converted it into a theme park. So it's really designed for families and possibly more for Vietnamese to visit who may never get to Disneyland, who may never get to the theme parks that we may be accustomed to in our countries. It was really designed for them. And I think you'll agree that they are 90%, along with the Koreans and maybe Taiwan, who people who love it as well. I think it's something that they just see is wow as their kind of entry point into what France or a French colonial village may look like, and then some of the other aspects of the gardens and the wine cellars and things like that. So that's kind of the background to Barna Hills. But I wanted you to experience it and so maybe say, okay, well, we've done that, but, we probably may not do that together. I know the boys in the group, they weren't overly thrilled. But once again, as I said, well, now when somebody says to you, do you want to go to Barna Hills, you'll be able to give them a heads up as into.
Oh, absolutely. Well, I mean, I was so glad we went there. And look, as you say, it's not about us, and I think different people want different things. And if you actually go up there knowing all those things, and I think, if I sent people up there, I'd give them that kind of an intro as to, the history and the background of it. I think there's a lot to love about it. So I think don't rule it out. I think just, it's just one of those things.
Take it for what it is.
Take it for what it is. Absolutely.
Exactly. So then we moved on and we headed out to Lanco to play the Laguna Lanco course, and we stayed at a resort out there called Vidana Lagoon Resort. Tell us a little bit about your experience with the course and that location that we stayed at.
Well, from Barna Hills, we went to Vidana and we played the course the following day. And I think sort of having played sort of 3 rounds of golf and had a fairly hectic schedule, it was a perfect addition to the itinerary. It was an opportunity to kind of get out of the hustle and bustle and the chaos and actually just stop. And, it had been hot, or it was hot. And so, after sort of 3 or 4 days, we were tired. So it was a great place to go. I mean, the resort is it's set on about 27 hectares, I think, of land, right on one of the biggest lagoons in the whole of Southeast Asia. I think I'm right in saying that. And it's kind of low key, which is to love about it as well. It's the accommodation is sort of villas and bungalows that are sort of beautifully appointed. They've got their own private sun decks and balconies that sort of lead out onto the lagoon or to a private garden. In fact, the bungalow that I had onto the water, there was the veranda onto the water, and then at the back there was like a little, almost like a little courtyard that was covered over and totally private, and I had a rain shower there. So having a rain shower there and just, looking up at the stars, and actually I think we had a brief thunderstorm when I was under the shower, which was just really special. It was absolutely fantastic. So look, it was great place to just read a book, ride a bike. I had a 90-minute spa treatment, which I think was the best spa treatment I've ever had in my entire life.
Yes.
The treatment rooms were all on sort of little bungalows, again, sort of looking out over the lagoon. And you had the boats going past with the fishermen in them, that kind of thing. It was just gorgeous. And, the dinner we had, I think there were two restaurants. We went to one, obviously. And look, the food was delicious. A really nice atmosphere, but not stitched up or over the top or anything like that. It was just laid back and a lovely experience. I mean, my only regret was that we didn't have more time there, to be honest.
Yes, and I think the time factor is something I want to get to maybe a little bit further down the track during this conversation, because, time, people say, oh, go for a week and you can play five courses and all the rest of it. But would you want to push yourself to that kind of level is the question. Maybe I'll ask you at the end. But tell us a little bit about the Laguna Lanco course itself.
Yeah, well, another golf course to love as well. Designed by another golfing legend, Nick Faldo. Again, it's a link-style course, but it's natural sort of, built-in natural rugged terrain. There are mountains. You've got coastal views. You really feel like you're in Vietnam. So I loved that. There's rice paddies and, all that sort of thing. So, yeah, I loved that course. And I can't wait. I'd happily go back there and play it time and time again.
And I think, out of the courses that you've got on offer in that, what we would call Central Vietnam region, we didn't get to play the BRG Da Nang course, and there's since our trip there has been the opening of Hoi An shores. So as you said before, basing yourself in Hoi An or Da Nang, you do have access to a really great range of courses to give you, I guess, a variety of experiences and a variety of, is the word ambience, as in, you've said many times about Lanco and Barna Hills, like you really felt like I'm really in Vietnam now. I'm really in Vietnam and playing in the surrounds, hitting across paddy fields and things like that. So, we based this tour with you around this central region as a bit of a hub. And would you agree that it would be a good base to spread your wings as far as playing is concerned?
Oh, look, definitely. I mean, you've always got to leave something for next time, and and certainly, Greg Norman's BRD Da Nang course and Robert Trent Jones Jr. Hoi An Shores, as you say, which is new. I mean, they definitely be on my list for next time. So, yeah, as you say, if you've got a week, probably a week or 10 days, you could easily fill that, being based in Da Nang or Hoi An and playing golf and allowing yourself a little extra time for a day or two off. I think, we madly put together golfing itineraries and play 6 courses in 7 days. And time again, when you've done that, it's really great, but you get to the end and go, I wish we'd had a day off in the middle. Mm. So, I think try and mix it up if you can and try and not do, just base yourself in one place, particularly if you've got limited time. And, I would say that's a great spot to go.
And I think that was kind of my plan in building in the Vedana Resort opportunity, as I just sort of felt that people would look for a little bit of respite from the heat, a little bit of chill out time, a chance to relax, kind of, take the pace down a tad because, you were going to be paying Lanco the next day. And it had been a bit go, 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 I felt. But everybody was so excited and keen and everything because you want to experience everything. But as you say, if you get to choose it yourself, you might go, you know what, I could have done with it just one extra night or, and I hear that so much, so many times.
I think so. I mean, if it was the boys' group, probably for the 50th birthday, they probably wouldn't be going to the spa resort.
No.
But, and so it's probably for a slightly sort of older demographic and people that have more time. But then again, you are finding, younger people going on these trips who actually need to check in with their office. They need to answer emails or, be available to take Zoom calls or whatever for a day. So, if that's the case, then actually, Verdana could be a really good place to have a down day where people can just attend to all those other things that they need to, plus have a rest.
Good idea. So now we finish up at Lanco. We then head to Saigon, and we're down to our last sort of 24, 48 hours. And you're going to be playing at the Vietnam Country Club, Golf and Country Club course, which is located in fairly easy access from Saigon. So we're back into crazy. We're back into a city which is known for its craziness, and you either get amongst it or you don't. And I think we got amongst it by getting you around the town a little bit, took you to the local markets and Bintan markets, which, everybody has to go to Bintan markets. It's just kind of the thing you have to do. So I think you all braved that pretty well and were able to get all your bits and bobs to take home, gifts, souvenirs, etc. But we managed to fit in also a little bit of extra tailing, I believe, Miss Chrissy. Just a few extra little things that I think we then shared amongst our luggage, if I recall. We all took am I right?
Yeah,
tell.
You're right, absolutely right. I know the tailoring you can go totally crazy. I mean, we did. I bought a lot of stuff, and it was fun. I mean, even the trying on things and being measured up and all that sort of stuff. I guess with the beauty of hindsight, I'd say, and you'd probably agree with this. Vietnam is a great place to have clothes tailored. I would say go with a plan. Take some of your favourite items with you that you want to have copied. If you think, look, I'll just decide when I'm there, often it's just totally overwhelming. And, there's so many fabrics and so many designs and things, you can often go home with things that you probably may never wear again, really. So I would say you definitely go armed with your stuff and your plan. The other thing is I'd say, look, beware of going home with too many ao yais, which are the local dress. And the ao yais look just so gorgeous on all the Vietnamese women. Everybody from the flight crews to all the women, they wear them. Even the corporates just have sort of very modern contemporary ao yais, which is sort of the flowing pants with the long tunic over the top. And to be honest, I thought I looked pretty good. I thought I looked pretty good in the AIs as well, until I actually got home and sort of contemplating wearing one to a dinner party. And I thought, actually, you know what? It's not really quite working for me.
Oh, that is so, I can relate to that experience totally. And my friends and family go, don't wear one of those ao yais to that party. And I go, what do you mean? And they go, no, we know that you go crazy with them, but they just don't fit and I go, I'm just so disappointed about that. Because you're right, you get kind of drawn into it, don't you?
Look, you so do. And I think the thing is you're going to have to plan another trip back, really, to take them back to wear them. I really didn't learn my lesson, because after going to Vietnam, I then ventured to India some months later, and I've come home with a stash of sari. So, look, if you need a sari at any time, or any of your listeners need one, give me a call.
I did the same with the skirts in Myanmar. Would you believe? I came back with a whole heap of those, which were kind of required to get into the temples in Myanmar because you've got to cover your knees. And I was wrapping these things, massive pieces of cloth, like in saris, you wrap them around yourself 100 times. Oh, yeah, I'm so glad you got sucked into that as well. But we've got to finish on the last golf course, which is we stayed at the Nico Hotel, which was spectacular, wasn't it? We had a gorgeous dinner on the top floor of the restaurant. It was amazing. But tell us about that course. Would you include the country club in your last course if you were to go again, or would you go somewhere else?
Look, just before we get to that, I mean, Saigon was just fantastic and incredibly chaotic. And I think the great thing about the Nico, staying there, which is, it's obviously a big chain hotel sort of throughout the world, but it was actually a great place to stay because it was located in that sort of District 1 of the CBD, really well, in really close proximity to, everything you need, to all the cultural sites, to great food, restaurants, all that kind of stuff. So, and, wonderful little precincts and all that sort of stuff. So I would say that was definitely a great place to stay.
We had a good guide. Do you remember the guide?
Did. Yeah, we did. We had
He was lovely.
Yeah. Yes. No, the guide was terrific. And, I guess, look, one thing, people sort of say, oh, did you feel safe in Vietnam, traveling in Vietnam? And, I certainly felt safe because we had a guide with us and we had you, the whole way, which was fantastic. So maybe that was a false sense of security. I didn't have the experience of the free independent traveller. However, everybody that I've spoken to who's been to Vietnam has never had a problem there. And I think because tourism is such a huge part of their they rely on it so heavily economically, that really it's in the interest of the locals and the police to keep you safe. So aside from, the odd ATM scam or the taxi driver that might actually, not have the meter running, it's a very safe place, I think, to travel. As far as the golf was concerned, look, it was a really enjoyable course at the country club. It's located pretty close, as you say. It's got two courses, an east and a west course. We played the west course, which is sort of it's a tree-lined woodland style course that was really enjoyable, but probably not my favourite. It's hosted the Vietnam Open, and it's got generous fairways and, and undulating greens, all those things. But I don't know, I suppose what in comparison to where we played before, it maybe wasn't my favourite. But if you're in Saigon, you've got a set of golf clubs, do it. And probably next time I'd add in Twin Doves, which is about an hour out of Saigon, and I'd also be looking forward to playing Long Tan, which has got 36 holes. It's a different style. Of course, it's sort of built on former rice paddies, as I understand it, and I think it sounds fantastic.
I agree. Now, as much as I would just love to relive this trip again and go on forever, I wonder if we could just wrap it up by maybe giving our listeners, I don't know, final tips, hints, advice. What would you say to people who are considering Vietnam? I mean, we're talking, coming out of COVID, people are going to be looking for their next destination. Vietnam is definitely up there in the top, I think, 13 or 14 countries named as the best places to visit in 21-22. So what advice would you share to people and golfers in particular?
Yeah, well, hopefully it is one of the destinations that, that will open up sort of fairly quickly post-COVID. I'd say, look, research where you want to go and look at the weather, particularly look at the weather. Time your trip around the best possible time.
Thank you so much, Chrissy, for being on the program. It was really great to relive that trip and to, get your insights on probably the more golfing type aspects, because I know we talked a lot about, when we came back, about your impressions of Vietnam and Hoi An and some of the places we stayed at. But it was just nice to get your kind of golfing insights to some of those courses. Probably we didn't get a chance to debrief. Look, I'm sure listeners, if you are a golfer, if you're a partner to a golfer, if you're heading up a group of guys who are looking for a golfing destination in the future, I really hope that this episode was able to give you some insights into what you can expect, certainly in the Central Vietnam district. Love to get your take on it if you've already been. Like to say thank you to everyone that's supporting the program. We are really getting to cover some amazing stuff in Vietnam. I'm just so thankful for your support. I know travel just looks like something that doesn't even fit on a calendar at the moment. So, if you can use the program to get information to help you make decisions in the future, my job is done. Thank you. Please rate. Please share if you can. It all goes towards making the program just that, little bit more special. And certainly for me, I truly appreciate it. Until next time, we'll see you in Vietnam.
Thank you for listening. Check out the episode notes for more information. What about Vietnam? Don't forget to subscribe, rate and review, and stay tuned for more fun adventures in Vietnam. What about Vietnam?